previously on Stay in Your Lane.
And there's shades of private fleet and dedicated, right? Whether you own the asset, own the driver, all those kind of things, and the arrangements, I imagine, can get quite complicated. It's
They
not
get
just
they get muddy,
transactional anymore.
right? They get muddy, but I think the overall commitment is better from a consistency perspective. You probably don't have the big wins that we've
Yeah.
seen in the past, but you don't have the big losses either. So you try and sit there in basically the sweet spot, right? And that I think fits our business model, where you avoid the extremes. But Joe, uh, you have any thoughts on what you think the motives are here of shippers? I think the recognition of clawing back is maybe over. What are you thinking, Chris? Things are going to go up from here. Just don't see it anytime soon or fast.
I guess
I
what have we been seeing in the contract market, Chris? What kind of increases have shippers been giving? I kind of was touching that.
Yeah. So
What
what's interesting is during the heat of the pandemic, the first 2 years, the tight market, um, everyone's the new rate differential is what we look at is we look at new contract rates coming in, compare that to rates that have left. Now it's lagging a little bit because you don't know a contract rate left until it doesn't show up anymore, right? And so
Right.
it's a little bit of a lagging metric. And during the tight part of the pandemic, it was all positive. Rates were going up everything. Now that distribution of the new rate differential has been shifting, and it bounces up and down. Earlier this month or late February, it was all slightly positive, like we're seeing 1 to 2%, and then my most recent numbers, it's just slightly negative. So it's bouncing up and down, and what that's telling us is some lanes are going up, some lanes are going down. Some shippers are letting carriers buy their way out of an auction, right? So they say, I will give you an X% increase. We don't even put it out to bid. And so on average, I'm seeing about a 2% increase in the bids that we've had anecdotally and in our data. And to me, that's the prediction. Because you got to understand when a bid goes, it's not just what the carriers are submitting, it's what the shipper is accepting. So it's kind
Right.
of a forecast by proxy by both parties. And so I'm seeing about a 2 to 3% overall increase as the projected what rates are going to be going forward. Um, yeah, so I don't see any big land grabs on either side. I think everyone's kind of bracing in for normal, quote, normal growth like that.
Yep, that
That's what
makes
we're
sense.
seeing. I mean, some people are seeing, what it is, every lane isn't an increase or a decrease. It's a mix, and it's really certain lanes, power lanes, you're going to see an increase. And some other lanes, you're going to see a decrease.
Wow, man, we could do this all day. We really could.
No,
Um,
but the thing is, it's really interesting to see it. So if you track the cycles, and the thing is, there's so much information out there now as opposed to 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And so the real question is, and Joe, I'm curious for your perspective on this. What will the next cycle be? Will there be a cycle? Will it be, if you look at the last three, they get a little bit bigger each time, and the pandemic was a once in a lifetime, we hope, pandemic. Do you see this being like 2013, 2016? Do you see it as something different, or do we see it being flat for a while? What do you think?
I still think it's going to continue to be flat for the next few quarters. But again, some of the underlying problems that the industry has, I mean, haven't gone away. Carrier costs, drivers aging out. I mean, that stuff is still there. And I mean, you look at new truck bills. I mean, during the pandemic, they went up. Yeah, I mean, they're all over the place. And you got Canada and Mexico being a big part of that now, because you got manufacturing on both sides of the border. So I see it being pretty flat here. Like you said, slightly rising. I don't see any big
Yeah. So
disruptions.
I'm curious your opinion. John, you said you're going to have Bob Costello on, who's great, love him. Driver shortage, all that good stuff. But what are your thoughts about efficiency? Because I've always had the argument that it's not a driver shortage problem; it's an efficiency problem. Shippers, receivers just hold carriers too long. Drivers don't get to
well,
drive as long as they would normally. Do
you
you see that
know,
getting better or
so
worse?
this is where this is a great question. I'm glad you asked it to me. We talked at the beginning about that theoretical, and then I said the reality. which is what I feel like I see,
Yeah.
which is, emotionally based, right?
Right.
Your question is difficult but good because we don't necessarily believe in a driver shortage.
Who's we?
I would say I don't. I'll say I.
Okay.
I don't believe there's a driver shortage. I
I
think there
agree.
are millions of people here with CDLs in their wallet that have found better ways to live their life and make a living for the money they've been making or can make driving a truck.
Right.
So they're not going to drive a truck. We saw it in COVID. A lot of people went and jumped out and started driving a truck because it paid so much.
Yep.
That we didn't have to wait for them to get CDLs. We didn't have to wait for them to get huge background checks or anything else. They just weren't driving. Now, I think we have I'll agree with Louis Pugh. We don't have a driver shortage problem. We have a driver pay shortage problem because the driver is commoditized now in today's market, like a piece of equipment.
But
So-
let's dive a little deeper into that. So how do and we're talking long haul, right? We're
Right.
talking long haul truckload, not LTL, not
Correct.
last mile stuff, because that's different. They're scheduled, they have runs, they get home each day. The long haul people get paid by the loaded mile, correct?
Right.
They either get percentage of what the truck generates or loaded mile.
Same thing, right?
Yep.
Proxy, if more empty, lower pay. And so sitting and waiting 4 hours to unload kills you. So for me, is it that the total wage needs to increase? Do we need to start paying them a salary, or do we need to just make sure their time is used efficiently? Because I agree with you that no one pays the penalty of holding a carrier. The
Okay,
carrier,
but-
the driver's felt, but the
Okay.
shipper and the receiver don't.
But let's say you put a warehouse in. I've talked to shippers that have put in warehouses that they got operational at 96% efficiency. Phenomenal.
What does that
Means they're
mean?
operating their warehouse 96 out of 100% efficient at getting their stuff done, and forklifts and the number of people needed and all of those things, because there's intelligent people that study that side of it. Now, here's the problem. When the market tightens and they can't get a truck in there and he misses one appointment because they're running so efficient, he now knocks everybody off schedule for the rest of the day, or he goes to wait till the next day to load. So when we talk about the value of time, the shipper inherently, or the manufacturer inherently, feels like they've got to run their warehouse at whatever percentage that they're comfortable with paying for efficiency wise. If it's too tight, there's no lag back and forth, and a driver ends up waiting long periods of time.
With no penalty to the warehouse.
No penalty to the warehouse.
Yeah.
Might pay for a little detention or something like that.
So you raised the point. This is back. The postal office used to measure on time delivery as office
day?
to office or sorting facility to facility. So it's the end to end. And so you need to look at the end to end, because you're exactly right. If you optimize a sub portion, you're taking away all latitude and flexibility. And so it's very easy because the four walls. I'm not saying warehousing is easy. It's a tough job, all that stuff, but it's contained. You have all the uncertainty when you have transportation coming in. And so,
But you got to load a truck or you can't sell or move anything.
right.
So you have to recognize that the trucking industry, you can have it mapped out and on paper it can be drawn up to work so well. And then you put a driver in the truck and hand him keys, and there's an accident in front of him, and now he's late. Okay, he can't back up. He's 80 feet long. He can't get off these roads. He can't run roads that cars can to run around.
So you got to figure out where their buffer is. And
Right.
if it's really timely freight you're trying to move, that's why you have a pool, right? You have trailer pools and you try to make that easier. But there's so many locations, and Joe, you know this so much better than I do, where you can't put a trailer pool. You know,
Right.
the plant was put there 50 years ago and there's just no space for it.
Right. If you're running
so-
in New York, you sometimes have to have a 40-foot fleet
Yeah.
to make it around the corners and back into the docks.
So I think we're all in violent agreement that the efficiency can be improved so much, because then if you make it more efficient, the drivers get paid more. If they're
Well-
driving, they're getting paid.
Unfortunately, I wouldn't say that because you make it more efficient, they're going to get paid more.
They're driving more miles.
If you
They
can
got
increase,
14 hours a day.
yeah, but if
when
you can
they start
increase
their clock
the
and
turns,
stop
John,
it.
on a weekly basis. I mean, if a guy's doing 2 turns a week on the equipment, if you can get him to 2.5 or 3, the same amount of time. Like you said, the time is the time. It's not going to change. But if you
Right.
get another half turn, another turn, that's more money in the driver's pocket.
But what if
Below.
you're running? What if you got
Below.
14 hours a day to work, and your lanes you run are only 8 hours of driving?
Well, national average is lower than that. It's like 6.5.
There you
So
go.
if you just add an hour of drive time, 2 hours of drive time, that's tremendous.
Then that would make a difference in in what the actual driver gets paid. What we unfortunately see is once there's a change, once there's an action, then there comes the reaction. Oh well, then we can put more stops on these, and then that's going to kill your efficiency, right? You add a stop to the load in transit. You do any of the other things that you couldn't do before. When you talk about efficiencies,
You talk
everybody's
about multi-stop, you're talking a whole different language.
you can
That's
do
a whole different.
right, but we can't look at all freight as all one on one.
Oh, I agree. I agree. The lion's share, though, is realistically long haul, middle mile, dry van, and reefer. That's what we're talking about. Anytime you deviate from that, yeah, you get specialty things. Shorter distances, you're into
Right.
drayage, and you have different types of drivers. Multi-stops, you have all these different economics. That's why carriers hate multi-stops, right? I mean, gosh.
Specialized equipment. I mean, it's all different.
Yep. But so to your point, the efficiency makes it so that the drivers can make more money. As long as when you drive efficiency on one side, you don't take it out of the other, like we talked about. You drive efficiency in the warehouse, too efficient, there's no room. You drive it, and then once you fix this side, then you go to the receiver, and they say, hey, wait a minute, our time's more valuable than your driver's time.
But wait. You got to look at it like any kind of manufacturing process or everything. And then you've got a bunch of machines, right? And one of the machines is warehousing. You pack it together. Then the next machine is transportation. Then there's a receiving. And the question is how much inventory? This goes back to like JIT, any kind of inventory. How do you build a buffer in there?
Right.
Or you need to have something between two systems because you need to try to optimize the flow, the total amount, not just each individual component. It's the interaction between the two, and what makes it hard is that they're different companies.
They are different companies, so the silos are real.
You could have 4 different companies involved, right? The shipper, the receiver could be different, the carrier, and a broker might be involved. So you've got 4 different companies with different objectives, and the driver pays the price for any kind of inconsistency or any kind of variation. And that's the challenge. The shipper and receiver don't feel the pain directly. They're starting to, because everyone keeps track now of locations where it's really long time to load and all that stuff. And we're seeing that go in the rates. So the signal is getting back, but it's very muted. And it takes a long time for that to go.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. Joe, Chris, thank you both for being on.
Yeah, good being here.
We appreciate it. Chris, always love bantering back and forth with you. I would love it if you get an opportunity. You come through Ohio. Will you let me know? Because
My travels rarely take me to Ohio, but if they
then
do,
I'll buy a
try to
plane
stop
ticket.
it.
You get time. I would love it if you would come in and I can share with you maybe what's not the majority of the one-on-one big company drive-in freight.
Sure.
I'll show you that maybe what we see more of, because it's a totally different beast.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
All right. Thanks,
Hey.
John. Thanks, Joe. Always great talking to you guys.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Chris, John.
Appreciate it. And until next time, stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.